My name is Corinne Adler, and I'm 35 years old. Until about 3 months ago, I honestly thought I had my life more or less figured out. I'd been with my boyfriend Lucas for 4 years. We met at a friend's dinner party, the kind where the wine is cheap, the lighting is flattering, and everyone pretends they're not looking for someone to go home with. He sat across from me, all charm and easy laughter, talking about window displays and sales targets like they were high art. He worked in fashion retail management, and he loved that it sounded impressive when people asked what he did. I worked as a business analyst at a mid-sized consulting firm. Good salary, good benefits, nothing anyone would make a TV show about. My days were spreadsheets and slide decks, process maps, and forecasts. In Lucas's words, it was respectable, if a little boring. He meant it as a joke, at first. We started dating casually, then got serious around the 1-year mark. After 2 years, he moved into my apartment, a modest 1-bedroom with decent light and a manageable mortgage. It wasn't glamorous, but the payments were predictable and the numbers worked. That mattered to me. I've always liked things that add up. From the outside, I was the safe one. My bills were paid on time. My emergency fund was real, not aspirational. My idea of risk was trying a new recipe without reading all the reviews first. Lucas called me steady, then comfortable, then stuck, as if those words were all on the same sliding scale. He worked in fashion retail management. His world was trends and launches, visual merchandising, presentations to regional directors. He liked to talk about the brand when he described himself. He fussed over outfits we wore to brunch. He knew exactly which restaurants had the right lighting for Instagram. He also knew how to aim his dissatisfaction without ever naming it. The real problem started around January. Nothing dramatic at first, just a shift in tone. Our apartment wasn't aspirational enough. Our weekends weren't spontaneous enough. I wasn't hungry enough. Every conversation felt like some invisible grading rubric was hovering in the air, and I was scoring a quiet C-. What does that even mean? I asked him once, after he'd spent 10 minutes sighing about how people our age were out there doing things. He waved a hand. Just, everyone's taking risks. Starting businesses, traveling, making bold moves. And we're here, eating takeout and watching streaming shows like a retired couple. We're saving money, I said. You remember the part where you want a house someday? He rolled his eyes. You're always thinking 10 years ahead. Live a little, Corinne. I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, all I heard was, you're doing life wrong. February arrived like a slap. On a Tuesday morning, my manager asked me to step into a conference room. There was a folder on the table and an HR rep sitting there with a practiced, sympathetic smile. The company was restructuring. My position was being eliminated. They'd keep me on for a month to transition my projects. Severance package, blah blah, outplacement services, all the words they use to cushion the blow of you're done here. I sat there listening, nodding, doing mental math. Savings, runway, contacts. On the outside, I was composed. On the inside, a small, terrified voice whispered, "What if Lucas is right about you?" What I didn't tell anyone in that room was that I'd already been talking to a recruiter for weeks. A former colleague had reached out about a senior strategy consultant role at another firm. More responsibility, more travel, a significantly better compensation package. It wasn't official yet, but things were promising. I left the office with a cardboard box and a headache, clutching both like they were fragile. On the way home, I told myself the story I wanted to believe. Lucas and I would sit at the table, talk through it, look at the numbers, make a plan. He'd be scared, sure, but we'd be scared together. That's what couples do. When I walked into the apartment that night, he didn't even ask how my day had gone. He was already mid-rant, pacing the kitchen. My regional manager is an idiot. He snapped, not even looking up. We're missing targets because corporate doesn't understand the market, and somehow it's on me to fix it. I swear, if I'm not promoted by summer, I'm out. I set the box down quietly. Rough day? You have no idea, he said. They want more revenue, more foot traffic, more everything, and they're giving us less staff. It's ridiculous. He finally glanced at the box. What's that? I swallowed. We need to talk. Is it urgent? He asked, already reaching for his phone. I told my assistant I'd call her about floor set changes. It's important, I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Can you sit down for a minute? He sighed dramatically, but dropped into a chair. Okay, hit me. I sat opposite him, fingers laced together so he wouldn't see them shake. So, I began, I got some news today. My position is being eliminated. They're keeping me on for another month to transition things, but after that, I'll be looking for something new. Silence. Lucas stared at me like I'd just told him I'd decided to take up arson as a hobby. You're getting laid off? He said finally. Yes. I took a breath. But it's not as bad as it sounds. I've been talking to a recruiter, and there's a senior consultant role I'm in the final rounds for, a different firm, better compensation. It could end up being a good thing. He didn't look relieved. He looked offended. Since when are you job hunting? He demanded. I wasn't, not really, I said. An old colleague reached out about this role about 6 weeks ago. We've been in discussions, but nothing was guaranteed, and I didn't want to stress you out if it fell through. 6 weeks? His mouth twisted. So you've been keeping this from me for 6 weeks. I've been cautious, I corrected. These things fall apart all the time. I wanted something concrete before I said anything. He shook his head. That's exactly the problem, Corinne. You're always cautious, always playing it safe, never just going for it. Finding a better job before losing my current one is smart, I said. Not cowardly. He leaned back, eyes narrowing like he was lining up a shot. You know what Maya would have done? He asked. There it was, her name, again. His ex-girlfriend from college. The one who took risks, who lived fully, who once quit a job with no backup plan and backpacked through South America with a credit card and a smile. I'd heard the stories, over drinks, at parties, in arguments. I'm sure you're about to tell me, I said quietly. Maya would have walked out the second they disrespected her, he said. She wouldn't cling to a sinking ship. She trusted herself to land on her feet. She was a real woman. You're just comfortable. He laughed a little as he said it, like it was a punchline. Something in my chest snapped. Not a crack of heartbreak, more like a seal breaking under pressure. A flood of things I'd been ignoring rushed in all at once. If that's how you feel, I said slowly, maybe you should go find another real woman who's willing to set her life on fire for the aesthetic. His eyebrows shot up. So that's it? You're just going to twist my words? You compare me to your ex every time I don't react the way you want, I said. You treat my stability like a character flaw. I'm trying to manage a job loss responsibly, and you're mad I didn't make it more dramatic for you. At least she had passion, he snapped. She wasn't just comfortable all the time. I stared at him, really looked at him. The perfectly curated haircut, the designer watch he'd financed, the outrage over a career setback that wasn't even his. If passion means making both of our lives unstable just so you feel excited, I'm okay being comfortable, I said. And if that's not enough for you, Lucas, you should go. Maybe I will, he shot back. We held each other's gaze for a long, brittle moment. Then he grabbed his keys from the counter. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't ask if I'd be okay. He just walked out. The door clicked shut, and the apartment went very, very quiet. The next day, between HR forms and exit interviews, I got the official offer letter for the senior strategy consultant position. The salary was 40% higher than what I'd been making. There were quarterly bonuses, a luxury housing stipend for frequent travel, a car service allowance, an entire suite of benefits I'd never even known to ask for. The recruiter had undersold it. This was a major leap. I signed it that afternoon. Lucas came back 2 nights later. Not with an apology, just with a numb kind of distance, like we were roommates who'd had a minor disagreement about dishes. We moved around each other like polite strangers for 3 days. On Sunday morning, he finally sat me down. I think we need to take a break, he said. A break, I repeated. I need to figure out what I want, he continued. You're stable, reliable, all of that. But I don't know if that's enough for me anymore. I nodded slowly. Okay. He blinked. Okay, that's it? You're not going to fight for this? Fight for what? I asked. For a man who thinks I'm just comfortable, who compares me to his ex whenever he's bored? Why would I fight for that? He stared at me like I'd rewritten the script without telling him. So you're fine with me leaving? He demanded. I didn't say I'm fine with it, I replied. But if you want to go, go. He packed a bag that afternoon. Said he'd stay with a friend for a while. Said we'd talk in a few weeks. I helped him carry boxes to his car, watched him drive away. On Monday, I started my new position. High-rise office, floor-to-ceiling windows, a title that still felt like it belonged to someone else, senior strategy consultant. The first project had me flying out that Wednesday to another city for a 3-day client meeting. They booked me into a 5-star hotel with a corner suite and a view that made the ground feel very far away. A black sedan picked me up at the airport, leather seats and bottled water, and a quiet driver who called me Ms. Adler. I stood in front of the hotel room window that night, the city glittering beneath me, my phone silent on the table behind me. Somewhere across town, Lucas was probably telling someone how comfortable I'd always been. I had no idea that a few months from that moment, I'd be stepping out of another black sedan at the Grand Hotel and watching Lucas freeze in place when he realized exactly what comfortable looked like without him. Week 2 at the new job, the novelty hadn't worn off, but the exhaustion had settled into my bones in a strangely pleasant way. Days were a blur of client calls, internal briefings, and deck revisions. Evenings were hotel rooms, room service, and the quiet hum of a mini fridge instead of Lucas's running commentary on my life. I had a corporate card now, a driver, a title that made people sit up straighter when I introduced myself. I was building a reputation faster than I knew what to do with. My new boss, a woman in her 40s named Meredith with sharp eyes and a sharper memory, pulled me aside after a client session that second Friday. "You have good instincts," she said as we walked out of the boardroom. "You read the room before you speak. That's rare." "Thank you," I said, and meant it. I spent a long time being told that was just me playing it safe. Meredith's mouth quirked. Whoever said that doesn't understand the difference between fear and strategy. Her praise warmed me in a place that had gone cold months ago. I flew back that Sunday. When I walked into my apartment, it felt both familiar and altered. Lucas's sneakers weren't by the door. His cologne didn't cling to the air. The couch didn't have his jacket thrown over it. For the first time, the silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like potential. On Tuesday, my phone buzzed while I was reviewing a financial model. "Lucas, how's everything?" I stared at the screen for a moment. We hadn't spoken since he drove away with half his closet in the back seat. Me, busy with work, traveling a lot. A few seconds passed. The little typing bubble popped up, disappeared, then reappeared. "Lucas, traveling for work?" "Me, yeah." I could almost see his frown. "Lucas, that must be stressful." I looked around at the glass-walled conference room, the city skyline beyond, the binder open in front of me, with a project plan worth 7 figures to the firm. "Me, it's actually pretty great." Read receipt, no reply. Days passed. I poured myself into the role. The more I gave, the more the firm handed me. By week 4, Meredith started dragging me into meetings I hadn't originally been invited to. "You should sit in on this," she'd say. "Watch how the partners negotiate scope. You're going to be doing this sooner than you think." I didn't correct her. I just took notes. That Friday, as I packed up my laptop to head home after a long day, my phone buzzed again. "Lucas, can we meet for coffee sometime this weekend? Talk?" I stared at the message for a long moment, feeling a faint, distant ache where the panic used to live. Me. Out of town again. Client project. Back next week. "Lucas, you're traveling a lot suddenly." Me. "New job requires it." He didn't respond. The next week, I was back in town for a short stretch, just long enough to do laundry, water the plants that hadn't yet given up on me, and remember what my own bed felt like. Wednesday night, another text. "Lucas, dinner this weekend? Just to catch up, please." I could have said no, I knew that, but curiosity is its own kind of gravity. Me. "Okay, Saturday, 7. That place near your friend's building." The restaurant was casual. Dim lighting, mismatched wooden tables, the sort of place couples came to talk about everything and nothing over shared fries. He was already there when I walked in. Lucas stood when he saw me, smoothing his shirt like he was about to audition for something. He looked smaller, somehow, less composed, like the edges of his confidence had been sanded down. "Hey," he said, forcing a smile. "You look good." "Thanks." I sat. "How have you been?" He launched straight into it. His manager was still an idiot. Corporate still didn't understand the market. He still deserved a promotion he hadn't gotten. The phrases looped and repeated, all the same complaints I'd heard for years. I listened. I nodded. I didn't offer solutions. Eventually, he paused. "What about you?" he asked. "How's the new job?" "It's going well," I said. "Challenging, but rewarding." "What exactly do you do again?" he asked, picking at the label on his beer. "Strategic consulting," I said. "I help companies optimize operations, improve efficiency, restructure processes, that kind of thing." He wrinkled his nose like he'd just smelled something bland. "Still sounds boring," he said with a half laugh. "Spreadsheets and meetings, right?" "It pays well," I said simply. He studied me for a second, like he was trying to reconcile the woman in front of him with the version he'd already decided I was. "You're still doing the safe thing," he said. "You know that, right? You could be doing something exciting with this transition." I took a sip of water, let the comment sit between us like a small, obvious stain. "It works for me," I replied. The server brought our food. We ate. He talked. I let the silence between my responses speak for me. When the check came, I reached for my wallet automatically. He let me split it without protest. Once, that would have hurt. Now it just felt informational. Outside the restaurant, he lingered on the sidewalk. "I miss you," he said, finally dropping the casual tone. "I miss us." The words hit me like a pebble tossed at a closed window. I heard them, but I didn't open anything for them. "I should get going," I said gently. "I've got an early call." He looked like he wanted to say something else, but he didn't. We said goodnight and walked in opposite directions. Month 2 at the firm, everything accelerated. I was leading small projects, mentoring a couple of junior consultants, and sitting in on conversations that had acronyms I had to Google later. Meredith called me into her office one morning, shut the door, and gestured for me to sit. "I'm going to be blunt," she said. "You've delivered like someone who's been here 2 years, not 2 months. We don't want to waste that." My pulse picked up. "Okay." "We're promoting you to principal consultant," she said. "Effective immediately. Bigger projects, higher rate, more client exposure. There will be a formal announcement, but I wanted you to hear it from me first." I blinked. "Already?" "Performance is performance," she said. "We reward it. HR will send the package this afternoon. It comes with a bump in base and bonuses, and there's an equity component I think you'll be happy with." I left her office with my head spinning and my hands shaking slightly. In the elevator, I caught my reflection in the polished steel. Same face, same eyes, but something was different in the way I held myself. Later that week, after I'd signed the paperwork and pretended not to be overwhelmed by the numbers in the offer letter, my phone buzzed again. "Lucas, my friend needs his place back soon." I frowned. "Lucas, I was thinking I could move back into our apartment." I stared at the message. 2 months ago, that suggestion would have sent me into a spiral of hope and dread. Now, all I felt was a quiet, steady no. "Me, I don't think that's a good idea." The reply came fast. "Lucas, why not?" "Me, because you left to figure things out. Have you figured them out?" There was a long pause, then, "Lucas, I miss you." I stared at the 3 words. Once they would have been water in a desert. Now they were just incomplete. "Me, that's not an answer." Another pause. I could imagine him pacing, running a hand through his hair, rehearsing versions of regret. "Lucas, I made a mistake comparing you to Maya. That was wrong." I exhaled slowly. There it was. The name again. Offered now as a confession instead of a weapon. "Me, I agree it was wrong." "Lucas, can I come over and talk in person?" I glanced at my calendar, at the flights blocked out in color-coded bars, at the stack of project materials on my table. "Me, I'm traveling again, back in 2 weeks." The dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. Then, "Lucas, fine." And that was it. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane headed overseas for the first time in the new role. London office, international clients, a project scope that felt like something people mentioned in LinkedIn humble brags. On the second day there, between meetings, I stepped out onto a narrow hotel balcony. The city was gray and beautiful and humming beneath me. I snapped a quick photo, not of my face, just of the skyline and the edge of the boardroom where I'd been presenting. I posted it with a simple caption, "Grateful for new opportunities, learning a lot, no company tag, no title." Within minutes, Lucas liked the post. 30 seconds later, my phone lit up. "Lucas, you're in London? For work?" I let the message sit for a minute, watching a red double-decker bus crawl past far below. "Me, yes." "Lucas, I didn't know your job sent you overseas. That's amazing." "Me, it's part of the role." "Lucas, when are you back?" "Me, Sunday." "Lucas, can we please talk when you're back? I really want to fix things." I stared at the words. The old me would have answered immediately, afraid that silence meant losing my chance. The person standing there in a tailored blazer with a keycard to a room the company paid for and a passport full of fresh stamps didn't feel that fear anymore. "Me, we'll see." As I slipped my phone back into my pocket, a strange thought crossed my mind. Maybe the real risk I've been avoiding all these years wasn't quitting a job or burning through savings. Maybe it was walking away from someone who only values me when the rest of the world does. I turned back toward the meeting room, unaware that the next time I'd see Lucas in person, we'd both be walking into the same grand lobby from very different directions, and only one of us would be invited there. 2 weeks later, I landed back home on a warm Sunday evening, carrying a suitcase full of wrinkled blouses, a stack of client notes, and a strange new steadiness in my chest. The kind that comes from realizing the world is bigger than the apartment you used to share with someone who didn't know what to do with your quiet ambition. I got to my building, hauled my suitcase upstairs, and froze when I saw someone standing outside my door. Lucas. He turned when he heard my footsteps, hope flashing across his face like a reflex. Corinne. I hesitated, keys in hand. You didn't say you were coming. I know. I didn't want to wait anymore. Even exhausted from travel, I could see it. He'd put effort into his appearance. Fresh haircut, crisp shirt, a scent I recognized from the nights he'd wanted to impress people more than he wanted to be with them. Can I come in? He asked. Curiosity won. I stepped aside. Sure. He walked in slowly, scanning everything with a soft frown. You redecorated, he said. I did. The throw pillows were new. The framed art on the walls, bolder colors, sharper lines, were things I'd picked because I liked them, not because they fit his idea of elevated minimalism. It looks good, he murmured. Different. I nodded. It needed a refresh. We sat across from each other in the living room. A gulf of 3 months stretched between us. 3 months that had reshaped me and shrunk him. For the first time since he'd left, he looked nervous. Not performative nervous. Real nervous. I want to apologize, he said, voice low, for everything I said, about you being comfortable, about comparing you to Maya. That was immature and hurtful. I didn't speak. Silence is powerful when you no longer fear losing someone. He swallowed. When you told me you were being laid off, it scared me. I panicked. I thought everything was going to fall apart, and I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't lose my job, I said quietly. I transitioned to a better one. I know that now, he said quickly, but in the moment, it felt like chaos, and I don't handle uncertainty well. You think I do? I asked. I was terrified, Lucas. I just didn't ask you to manage my fear for me. He looked down. I left because I was scared, not because I didn't care. And now? I asked. He took a breath. Now I want to try again, for real. I miss you. I miss our life. I stared at him, really looked at him, and something inside me loosened, not with longing, but with clarity. Lucas, I said softly, where we were wasn't working. That's why you left. I left because I was stupid, he insisted. I compared you to the wrong person. Maya was all flash, no substance. You're different. I shook my head. You didn't leave because you thought she was better. You left because you thought I wasn't enough. That's not true, he said, but the way his shoulders sagged told the truth for him. You showed me who you are, I continued. When things got tough, you ran. When I needed stability, you gave me comparison. When I tried to be responsible, you called it boring. His voice cracked. People change, Corinne. I know, I met his eyes. I did. That landed. His expression faltered, like he was finally seeing the version of me that had been forged from long hours, airport gates, boardrooms, and silence uninterrupted by criticism. Are you seeing someone? He asked suddenly, desperation flickering along the edge of each word. No, I said, but I am happy, and I don't want to go backward. He inhaled sharply, the sound of a man realizing a door had closed without him noticing it was even moving. He blinked hard, eyes glistening. Please, just one more chance. I gave you 4 years, I said gently, and when you walked out, you dismantled everything we'd built. You made the choice for both of us. Tears spilled over. He wiped them quickly, as if embarrassed by his own vulnerability. What about everything we shared? He whispered. It mattered, I said, but it's over. He sat there for a few seconds, shattered in quiet pieces. Then he stood. I'm sorry, he said, voice barely above a whisper. So am I replied. He left without another word. I heard him break down in the hallway, soft, choked sobs echoing against the walls. For a moment, I felt a flicker of guilt. A tug from the version of me who used to bend herself into shapes that would fit neatly into his idea of enough. But it passed. I closed the door gently, as if sealing away an old life. The next morning, I returned to work. My inbox was full, my calendar a color-coded battlefield, my projects in 3 different time zones waiting for me to catch up. By the end of May, things shifted again. Another promotion, this time to a VP-level project lead. A role that felt surreal, like stepping onto a platform that had always been meant for someone louder, bolder, flashier. Someone like the kind of woman Lucas would have respected. But I had earned it. Every slide deck, every late-night analysis, every 6 a.m. taxi to the airport. The money was absurd, honestly. I paid off my student loans, maxed out my retirement accounts, upgraded to a sleek, understated German car, the kind you don't post about because people assume you're bragging. My apartment became mine in every sense. Plants on the windowsill, soft lamps instead of the harsh overhead lights he'd preferred. artwork with colors that made me feel awake. And through all of it, Lucas hovered at a distance. A text here, a comment there, a like on a post, all carefully civil, all quietly longing. But I wasn't orbiting him anymore. He was orbiting me. Then the invitation arrived. A major industry conference, the kind of event people put on their resumes in bold font. Networking panels, award ceremonies, thought leadership sessions, held at the Grand Hotel, a place with marble floors, golden chandeliers, and the ghost of history humming through every hallway. My firm was sponsoring a dinner. I was speaking on a panel, and I was being recognized as an emerging leader. I stared at the email for a full minute. Then I whispered to no one, "Oh," because this moment felt like a hinge, a shift, a place where two versions of my life diverged. I booked my room, picked my outfit, prepared my remarks. And without knowing it, I also set the stage for the evening Lucas would never forget, the one where he'd see me step out of a car at the hotel entrance and finally understand what comfortable really looked like when I was the one defining it. The night of the conference felt unreal from the moment I stepped into my hotel suite. The Grand Hotel wasn't just luxurious, it was theatrical. Marble floors that echoed like a cathedral. Crystal chandeliers dripping from ceilings so high they made you look up automatically, as if reverence was part of the dress code. My room had velvet chairs, a desk carved from some expensive dark wood, and a balcony overlooking the city lights. I changed into a tailored black dress, structured, simple, quietly commanding. The kind of dress that didn't shout for attention but didn't need to. A pair of understated earrings, my hair pulled back cleanly, no glitter, no drama, just presence. At exactly 6:12 p.m., the car service texted that they were waiting. I rode down in the elevator feeling an eerie calm. 3 months ago, Lucas told me I was comfortable, like it was a synonym for small, as if ambition had to be loud to count. Standing in that elevator, I realized something. Maybe comfort wasn't the enemy. Maybe it was the prize. When the doors opened, the lobby buzzed with guests, staff, and the low hum of wealth that didn't have to flaunt itself. I stepped outside, and the driver opened the sedan door like I belonged there. I slid into the back seat, exhaling once, and let the car pull up to the main entrance of the hotel ballroom wing. Photographers for industry publications were stationed near the entrance, not paparazzi, just business journalists chronicling leaders and rising talent. Still, flashes sparked. People turned. And then I stepped out. The air felt different, the kind of moment you don't plan for because planning would ruin it. I lifted my head, the city breeze brushing the edges of my hair, and someone across the entrance froze. Lucas. He was standing near the foyer, slightly behind a group of his coworkers. His posture stiffened, the way a camera lens snaps into focus. His eyes went wide. Recognition hit him like impact. He took a half step forward, parted his lips to say something, but he didn't move further. Couldn't. Not with the black car, the photographers, the guests nodding at me, the badge around my neck with my new title. I didn't break stride. I walked past him and into the hotel. Inside, the event was a shifting constellation of firms, executives, clients, and experts. People shook my hand, introduced themselves, asked me questions about the London project. Meredith winked at me from across the room, proud but subtle. My panel went well, better than well. When it ended, several senior partners from other firms approached me with business cards tucked in sleek holders, opportunities that would have once felt like fantasies. Midway through the cocktail hour, as I chatted with a group from a competing firm, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. Lucas, are you at the Grand Hotel? I didn't respond. 2 minutes later, Lucas, I'm here too. Came with my colleague. Can we talk privately? Please. I looked up just in time to spot him across the room, nervously adjusting his tie as he searched for me. He found me. I met his gaze for one steady second. Then I looked away and returned to my conversation as the partner beside me said, "Your remarks earlier were incredibly sharp. Your restructuring framework for mid-market clients was one of the smartest angles I've heard this year." I smiled. "Thank you. It's been an intense but rewarding season." My phone buzzed again. "Lucas. Corinne, please, just a few minutes." I lifted my glass, letting the cold condensation ground me. Then, without hesitation, I typed, "Me. We have nothing to talk about privately or otherwise. Enjoy the event." I hit send. Across the room, I watched him check his phone. His face fell, confusion first, then hurt, then something resembling dawning comprehension. He started walking toward me. But before he could reach me, a senior partner from a major consulting firm stepped in front of him and greeted me warmly. Corinne, fantastic panel. We should talk about opportunities in Q4. We're expanding our strategy division. I smiled, shook his hand, and stepped deeper into the group with him and several others. Lucas stopped mid-stride. A full stop. He stood still, phone limp in his hand, realizing he was outside the circle now. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, but literally. He looked like someone who'd shown up to reclaim a life only to discover the lock had been changed. I didn't look back. The event continued, networking, clinking glasses, polished conversations. I felt like I was watching my life sharpen itself into focus. Every hour I had once apologized for, every spreadsheet, every boring day, every careful choice had led here. And finally, I didn't feel the need to defend it. I left around 10:30 p.m. The driver opened the sedan door again, and I slipped inside. Just before the car pulled away, I caught sight of Lucas at the entrance, standing alone, staring at the spot where I'd been moments earlier. The next morning, my phone lit up with a call from him. Against my better judgment, I answered. He didn't bother with hello. That was humiliating, he said, his voice tight. What was? I asked calmly. You ignoring me at the event. I saw you see me. I saw you just turn around and walk away. I told you, I said, we have nothing to discuss. You couldn't even acknowledge me? Corinne, everyone saw that. People were whispering. His voice faltered. I looked pathetic. That's not my responsibility. I can't believe how cold you were, he said. You've changed. I leaned back against my pillows. I have, and I'm better for it. You're not the person I knew, he insisted. You're right, I said. The person you knew made herself small, so you wouldn't feel threatened. Silence. Then he hung up. I stared at the blank screen, an odd mix of relief and finality washing over me. An hour later, a mutual friend texted. Friend, Lucas is really upset about the conference thing. Me, okay. Friend, he said you publicly embarrassed him, made him look foolish. Me, I didn't do anything. I just didn't engage with my ex at a professional event. Friend, he said you've completely changed. Me, I hope so. Friend, he feels like you're being cruel. I took a breath and typed the truth. Me, he left when he thought I was sinking. He tried to come back when he realized I was rising. That's not love, that's convenience. There was a long pause. Friend, yeah, I don't have a response to that. Neither did I. Because there was nothing left to prove, nothing left to fix, nothing left to grieve. Final update. 3 months since the conference, my life feels like it fits me for the first time. My firm is talking about partnership before 40. My calendar is full of work I love, not work I tolerate. I host dinner parties for colleagues. I bought new furniture that matches the person I am now, not the relationship I was in then. My mornings begin without that low, gnawing anxiety of wondering what version of Lucas I'd be dealing with. I heard through the grapevine that he's dating someone new. Maya. Apparently, the real woman, with all the passion and spontaneity, has circled back into his orbit. Maybe they'll work this time. Maybe he'll get the drama he always claimed he wanted. I genuinely hope he finds whatever he was looking for. As for me, I started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee, conversations, small moments of connection without the weight of comparison. It feels good to be wanted for who I am, not for who someone else thinks I should be. Someone asked me last week if I regretted how things ended, if I regretted walking away at the conference, if I regretted not fighting harder for my relationship. No, Lucas showed me who he was when he thought I was falling apart. I showed him who I became once I stopped trying to impress someone who'd already decided I was comfortable. Turns out comfort isn't the absence of ambition.